Hey guys, in this video, we're gonna learn about strings and their different functions in Python. So we all know what strings are, but I'm just gonna go into detail of how we represent strings in Python. So this is a program I wrote earlier, and there are two ways to represent regular strings. So the first way is to use double quotes, as I've done over here for the string hello world. I've used double quotes. And the other way is to use single quotes, as I did on this line that says, "My name is Riddhi." Now, both double quotes and single quotes work perfectly fine. And the reason that Python gives two ways of using strings, of representing strings, is because let's say I wanted to say, he said he was okay. Now, if you see what's happened here, okay is not part of the string. Because the double quotes, when I open them here, I want to print these double quotes. But I can't do that because these are in double quotes as well. So what I can do, however, is I can put this in single quotes. And now this will be printed as it is. So that's the reason why Python has two ways of representing strings, with double quotes and single quotes. Now, moving on, there are also multi-line strings in Python. So multi-line strings allow us to write or type a string that runs over one line. So as you can see over here, I wrote, "I am learning Python using Skillzy. I think I am doing well." Now this is running into 3 lines, but it's one string. So to represent multi-line strings, you have to use 3 quotation marks at the start and at the end. So 3. So you can use double or single, it does not matter. You can use either. But if you use double at the start, you have to use double at the end. If you use single at the start, then you have to use singles quotes at the end. So what I've done is I've stored this string, this multi-line string, into the variable intro, and I'm just printing intro. So I'm going to go ahead and run this program. And as you can see, everything prints as normal because the first 2 strings we're quite familiar with, the representation. The third one, as you can see, the quotations around the word okay were printed because I didn't use double, I used single. And as you can see, this string ran over 3 lines, and over here, it's also printed over 3 lines. So this is it as to how we represent strings in Python. But there is something really interesting about strings in Python. And that is that strings are actually arrays. Now we learned what arrays are in the last video. So how this works in Python is that a string is an array. So this is the array. Each character in the string is one element of the array. So, in a sense, if I store hello world in a variable called string, I can actually treat string as if it's an array, and I can index the string at whatever place I want to get the character. So if I say string 0, it should print the capital letter H. And if I say string 4, it should print the letter O. Now, again, because strings are actually arrays in Python, the length of an array can also be found and stored in the variable length by using the length function. And so on this line, I've printed the length of the array, and it should return, 5 plus 5, 1. It should return 11. Now, one really interesting thing about strings as well is that you can slice. So if you want to slice a string, what it basically means, I'll explain what slicing means first. So slicing means that you don't want to index just one character. You want a part of the string. So let's say I want the word hello. So how I do this is that I write the name of the string. So in this case, it's just string. Then I open my square brackets. I type the first index, and this will be included. So if I put 0, the letter H, which is at index 0, will be included in my slice. Then I put a semicolon, and then I put the index of the character that is one ahead of the actual character I want. So index 5 is actually this empty space here. The space over there has the index of 5. And remember, a space is also a character. So the space will be stored in index 5 of the array. But the second number that you provide, is never included in the slice. So when I do 0 to 5, just the word hello will be printed. Now I can do the same thing for print for the word world. So it starts at index 6, W is at index 6, then I put a semicolon, and then I've just put the variable length because I couldn't be bothered to count the actual number of letters there are in the string hello world. But if I did do that, then I could also just replace this with the letter, but I decided to stick with the variable length. So this should print world with the exclamation mark. Now, because strings are actually arrays, you can even iterate over them using a for loop. And how you can do this is you can say for character, so I've just made up a variable called char. So for char in string, print char. Now, what this does is char is a variable that will hold first, in the first iteration, it will hold the letter H, and that will be printed. Then in the next iteration, it will hold the letter E, and that will be printed. And then so on and so forth until we reach the end of the string. Once we reach the end of the string, hello world, this for loop will end on its own. Now, another thing that you can do with strings in Python is you can check for specific characters in the string. So this is a variable called check, and it stores the Boolean expression L and L in string. So remember, this is a Boolean expression, and the word in is the membership operator. So what this means is that if LL is in string, so if it's in hello world, then this will be equal to true. Otherwise, it'll be equal to false. So in the end, check really just stores true or false. So when I go ahead and I print this, it should say LL is in string, question mark, true, because LL is there in this string. So let's go ahead and run this. And there you go. It first printed an H because we indexed it at 0. Then it printed an O because we indexed it at 4. Then it printed the length of the string, which, by the way, I got wrong. It was 12 because I forgot the exclamation mark. But anyways, then it returned a slice of the string from index 0 to index 5. But 5 is not included, remember. So it's really just indexes 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And of course, the second word was world, and that was printed as well over here. Then it printed every single character on a separate line in the string. And lastly, it printed this statement. LL is in string, question mark. And of course it is, so it printed true. So this is really an interesting thing about arrays to remember, that in Python, strings are actually arrays. I found that pretty interesting when I learned it, and I hope you remember this. So before I move on to the next video, there's one more important thing to learn about strings, which is the different string functions that are out there. So let's say I have the string hello world again. Now, a string function is just a function that you can perform on a string. So what we can do is, let's say we want to convert the entire string into a lowercase alphabet. Well, then we can use the function lower. So how it works is you say the name of the string, you put a dot or a full stop, then you type the word lower, and then empty parentheses after. There should be no spaces. And what this will do is, so I've just put it inside a print statement. So what this will do is it'll print hello world with all small letters. And then string.upper does the exact opposite. It prints everything in uppercase letters. So these first two are fairly easy to grasp. Now this next one actually returns something. So string.find O will return the index. Remember, strings are arrays, so it will return the index at which O is first found. So in this case, it's found at index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this should print 4 when I run it. So how do you use the find function? Well, you write the name of the string, you put a full stop, the word find, open parentheses, and then you have to put literally what you are looking for. Now, the next function is count. So what count does is it'll count the number of times the element or string or character that you've provided is how many times it is repeated in the string you are using the function on. So to use it, you have to write the name of the string, a full stop, the word count, parentheses, and then inside the parentheses, you have to put the item or element or string or character that you are looking for. So in this case, I wanted to count how many times the letter L is repeated in the word hello world. Not word, in the sentence hello world. So this should print 3 because L is repeated 3 times in the sentence hello world. So before I run this, I'm just going to explain the remaining part of this program as well. So let's say A is the string hello with a space and B is the string Riddhi, which is my name. Now, an interesting thing about Python, again with strings, is that you can do a little bit of math with them. So if you want to join 2 strings, you can do A plus B. Now, you cannot in any manner do print A plus 3. This line will cause your computer program to crash. And the reason for that being is because you can only add a string to another string. You cannot add an integer to a string. Okay? So A plus B should print hello Riddhi, because A is hello and B is Riddhi, and they're both strings. Now you can also multiply strings, and what this will do is it will just print that string as many times as you've specified. So over here I've said A multiplied by 3. So the word hello would be printed 3 times on the same line. So another thing that is really important to understand with strings is string formatting. So let's say we have the string my age is, and your age is actually an integer, it's not a string. Well, you could convert this into a type string and then use the addition operator and combine the 2 strings, or you could format the string. But you remember, you cannot do C plus age because they are 2 different data types. And this will cause your program to crash. So I'm going to go ahead and comment out this line because I don't want my program to crash when I run it. But again, before I run it, let's just finish this program's code. Going over it, I mean. So this is the correct method of formatting. What you do is you say, this is the string, my age is, and then you put these curly braces. Now, you don't need to put anything inside the braces. You just put some curly braces, and that is like a placeholder. So whatever you put in here, you can pass in an integer or you can pass in a variable here, and it will be printed as a string. It will become a type string, basically. And then so when you print it, you want to say C dot, so the name of the string, which is C in this case, dot format, the word format, and then in brackets, you put whatever you want to convert into a string. So we want to convert the variable age, which is type int, into a string. So when I run this, it will work. Now, another correct method is using the %d sign for formatting. So what this does is, again, it's just %d is a placeholder for any number that you want to format into a string. So how this works is you put your string with the %d inside. Then after the string, you put a space over here, the % sign again, and then in brackets, you put whatever you want to format into the string. So we want to format age, the variable age, into the string. And when I print this, again, it will work perfectly fine. So let's go ahead and run this program. I'm going to save it and let's run it. And there you go. All lowercase as we discussed, all uppercase. The number 4, which is the first index of the letter O, and 3, which is the number of times L is repeated in the string hello world. Then hello Riddhi, which was joined by using the addition operator. Then hello, which is printed 3 times on the same line because of the multiplication operator. And lastly, my age is 18 has been formatted correctly and has been printed. So that is it for this video. I hope this was slightly helpful because string functions allow you to do so much when you're programming and when you're writing different applications. So again, do feel free to experiment with it, and I hope you have fun when you do experiment with programming.